You said after the disappointing result on Tuesday that there weren't many positives and you'd go away and review the footage. Mm-hmm. Did you find any?
Yeah, I think we did. I think obviously after the game you speak with more emotion. You're disappointed with the result, of course. But when we looked at the game, really, back, we limited Cardiff to very little play in the game. They didn't have any real, we lost a poor goal. I think they had 2 other chances, one from outside the box and a cross that came inside the box. And for the basis of the rest of the game, the majority of the game was about us. But as we touched on after the game, what we did with the ball in the final third of the pitch was disappointing. There's no doubt about that. We've been through that with the players. It's not how we set the team out to play. We looked at the difference in the game. Both in Barnsley and in Wigan in terms of the amount of ball that went in the box. We didn't do anywhere near enough of that, and the quality when it did come in the box wasn't good enough. So that's what we've looked at. That's what we'll try and improve this in the 2 days that we've had, and what we'll try to improve going forward. And we have to look at how we build the game as well as areas where we need to improve.
You talked about the amount of possession we had. I think it was around 70% on Tuesday, and whilst not saying it was pointless, we didn't do enough with it, as you've said. How did the players react when you spoke to them about that? Because it's not the first time this season or last season that we've had lots of possession and created very little.
I think the response was good, as long as you show them that we want to have that level of possession in the game, but we want it with a purpose. And how do we get that purpose? The players probably need a little bit of help in that, and we showed them that. We review the game, we review what we asked them to do, and sort of say, well, look, that's not what we got on the night. We've worked hard in the 2 days that we've had in the sense of the attacking play and what we expect from the attacking players as well. Which, when I say attacking players, that's not only the front 3, that's also the 2 attacking midfield players. It's also fullbacks as well when they get in the opportunity to deliver the ball that they do that. So the response has been good. I think the players know on the night there was a disappointment within the dressing room that we didn't. I think they saw it as a wasted opportunity, which is good, and that they then have the mindset to obviously try and address it tomorrow.
But there's going to be a lack of confidence with the poor results we've had, and also you've mentioned, and it's quite well known, that we don't have the width or the pace or a clinical striker. Given the current squad that we have, how are you going to rectify those problems?
Well, until January, I have no option but to try and rectify. I don't think necessarily that we don't have the players. I think that possibly the players are dealing with a lot of change maybe since they came here. They've been possibly brought here by, I'm possibly the third manager for some players, for some I'm the second. So there has to be a clarity there for the players as well. We haven't found a potent goal scorer this year. It doesn't mean that we don't have one within the group. We have to look at the opportunity that the players have been given as well. I think what we showed in the previous 2 games, particularly the 2 wide players, is that they gave us a threat. They gave us a threat in behind, and they also give us a threat in terms of being able to put balls in the box. Not as many as we'd like, but still it's I think a step in the right direction. But it's just continuous work. It's continuous work on the training pitch with this group of players, and obviously looking to find the right types of players to strengthen the squad going forward. And we can't do that obviously until January, and until we get there, we have to try and maximise what we get out of the lads that we have.
You've had the luxury of 2 extra training sessions with the lads. What can we expect to see that might be different than we saw at Cardiff then? You're obviously going to push for more attacking.
We'll aim to see what we saw against Barnsley and against Wigan, particularly in the early part of the game. We'll aim to see, hopefully get a level of control in the game that we had, particularly in the Wigan game. In the early part of the game, we possibly allowed that to be taken away from us, and then we lose a poor goal. But I thought second half again, credit to the players that came out, dug themselves out of the hole that they put themselves in, and ultimately went on to win the game, and pushed hard to win the game when they got it at one each. So what we're getting at the minute is not 90-minute performances. I think what we got against Barnsley was a really good 70 minutes, 75, and possibly similar in the Wigan game. So what we have to do is try to get to that level. I think in the Championship there seems to be a real onus on to get the first goal in games. I look at the game in Barnsley, for example. We score a good first goal and we then play with a lot of confidence, a lot of spring in our step. We lose the first goal at Wigan and we have to come back from that. And on Tuesday night we lost the first goal and we didn't manage to come back. And again, it was a poor goal from our point of view to lose. So the onus is to make sure that we don't put ourselves in those difficult positions and play with the same level of purpose we did in the opening 2 games.
It's a 3 games in 8 days, and with sports science, I'm not wishing to be rude, but when you played, there wasn't the same. There wasn't the same thought.
No offence taken.
if you went on the pitch and you said you were okay to play, and you didn't say you were very tired at the end of the game, then you would stay on. It's slightly different now. Does the sports science element come into play with you for the selection for tomorrow?
No, not really. I don't think we're at that stage yet because we have so many players, and there's been quite a lot of, I suppose, inconsistency in the selection. I don't think we've got players in our squad that you would say he's got a huge amount of minutes in his legs. There are players who have been ever present in the team, but there's also players who have missed games. So it's not a factor at this minute in time. I think in certain positions you have to look at that, but I think the players have to, at this minute in time, we have to put what I believe is our strongest team on the pitch, and if and when the opportunity comes to rest players, I don't think that's the right word, but it sort of maybe protect them a little bit or put a bit of freshness into the team. I think that needs to be at a certain point in the season, and this is certainly not that point in the season.
There were a lot of people that thought because of Mamdou's great last gasp winner, he might have started the game. Was there a reason you didn't?
I just think Mam's been out in the cold for a long time, and we've brought him back, and he's had a 10-minute cameo in 2 games, so I think we have to be realistic where Mam is as well. He's trained well. He's a player that's always in your thoughts. At this minute in time, where he is physically, he's probably got more, I suppose, relevance or importance to us as an impact, what he'll give us. So it wasn't a case of anything other than that. I think when I look at, we felt that when the substitutions we made the other night, we've probably felt that Vokes and Hogan would be a better pairing as a front two, given that we maybe have to go a little bit longer in the final 10 minutes of the game, which is inevitable. So no, it wasn't nothing other than that. But as I said, when I brought Man back in, he's going to be an important player for us and have a role to play for us, whether that's from the start or from the bench. And
James McLean hopefully is fit. How are we injury wise for tomorrow?
James is fine. He's trained well Thursday, Friday. We have a little doubt about Liam Lindsay, and Ryan has a little bit of a stiff back, but it's still early in Ryan's rehabilitation period in terms of getting him on the pitch, in terms of starting games. Obviously he's training and he's needs minutes. He's had 2 games, not of significantly high quality, but we just have to make sure that we're protecting him a little bit as well, and make sure that when he comes back into the team, that he's in tip-top condition, and that, I suppose that's where we're at. Other than that, we're fine.
You talked about to the press at the end of the last match about your assistant manager being as good a coach as you could have with you for 11v11. What qualities is he bringing to you? Because we've heard very little apart from his interview with the Stoke media team. What qualities does he give you, and how does he help you?
Well, he's not particularly keen on speaking to the media. First of all, he's not interested in that side of the game. He's interested in working with players on the pitch. I think that what he gives me is a real clarity, and we have the same beliefs and thought process on how we want the team to play. He has high standards, very high standards. I mean, Billy has worked with top international players at both West Ham and at Fulham. the Berbatovs of the world and the Arnautovic's of the world. So I think what he brings on the training pitch is a level of clarity for the players, as I say, structure and how the team is going to play, and he just has an infectiousness about him and drives the training, so that the training is of a high standard in terms of the technical level, but also the intensity level as well. And I think when you come from the Premier League, you know what good looks like. And he's worked under obviously a lot of experienced managers in the Premier League. He's worked at international level with me. That was my priority when I brought him in. I thought he would raise the level of what we would do at international level, and he did do that. So yeah, I think he's had an excellent response from the players. He wants to help the players, and as I say, going forward they'll I think enjoy working under them, and they'll recognise that he will make them better.
Would it be fair to say he doesn't suffer fools gladly?
I'd say that's pretty much, yeah. So yeah, I'll let you say that. But yeah, listen, okay. That's down to standards. We want good standards at this club. We want hungry players. We want to turn this club into a club where the players have that hunger to drive the club forward. Obviously, that means getting up the division at this minute in time, and then building for the future. And possibly when you go through relegation and you have difficult times, that evaporates to some extent. So that's the main thing. We want players that will respond to what we do in the training pitch, and the response we've had so far has been good.
Obviously the main goal is to get out of the relegation area, but do you set individual goals yourself with players, or do you just set team goals?
No, we'll set individual goals when we get the chance. We'll look at that.
You've got a whole week coming up.
Yeah, we've got. Yeah, well, listen, we're looking forward to it. Yeah, I think there's two sides to that really. We will set the team goals, obviously, and in the immediate future, it's to win the next game and to get momentum and propel ourselves up the league. Individual goals, I think, are a combination of the coaching staff and the players, because we want the players to have individual goals themselves. We want the players to self-analyse. We want the players to want to self-improve as well. It's not just down to us. I always say that the standards at the club are set by the players. We can give the parameters around that, we can give the structure, but ultimately it's them that have to go on the pitch, and so we want to see players that are hungry for information, that are coming asking for extra information. If we're having to go to them, then I think they maybe are going to have to look at themselves a little bit and say, well, are you doing enough? If you're not in the team, are you doing enough to get in the team? And pretty much that's the way we'll work. But no, we believe that we can improve players, but ultimately the players have to be receptive to want to improve themselves.
And finally from me, you've experienced the atmosphere at the Bet365. I know a lot of people say it, but the supporters can make a massive difference, can't they? Particularly in matches like tomorrow when it's a very important game. Yeah, huge, because you need to know, for players when they're in a more vulnerable situation, you need to know that the people are behind you, and I think the atmosphere in the Wigan game was great. I think they pushed the players on in the final 5-10 minutes of the game to give them the belief they could win the game, and that was the case. And so much of the modern game is about running as well, and so when you have that level of support in behind you, it gives you the belief that you can go that extra little bit, and if they can give us that extra little bit between now and the end of the season at every home game, they'll get a response from the players. I think we saw that even in the Barnsley game with the huge away support. It's more difficult for the fans on a Tuesday night to obviously get to Cardiff, and the numbers were smaller, and I think possibly when you look at Tuesday night games in the Championship and Wednesday night games, there is a different atmosphere from when it is on a Saturday. So the supporters have been great, certainly since I've come in, and we need their backing again. Thank you, good luck. Thank you.
It seemed there's only one James McLean, whether it's his enthusiasm or his presence down the left side. Would you say that was one of the major problems you had on Tuesday night, not having James?
Well, it was certainly a problem when you take a player out of the team who's played well in the previous two games, and you possibly, we're asking Sam to do a job which is not the strongest position for him. He can play there, but yeah, I think James has proven himself. I think certainly in the short term I've been here, I've seen a lot in James. I've seen he surprised me a little bit, some aspects of his play, you know, and that I've been pleasantly surprised about. You always know what you're going to get from James in relation to like the work rate. You know, he works tirelessly for the team, but I think certainly in the last 2 games we've seen a lot of quality as well, the quality of his ball in the box. We did miss that, there's no doubt we missed him on Tuesday night, and it's a big plus that he's obviously fit for us tomorrow.
3 games in, and I would argue that you've seen the best and probably the worst of the squad. Has it told you everything you need to know to move forward?
But it hasn't told me everything in 3 games. I'm not sure I've seen the worst. I mean, if you go away from home and have 70% of the ball, doesn't mean you have played terribly. It means that you probably haven't played with the right purpose, and that just takes, you know, we're trying to work with the players on that, as I touched on earlier. So, you know, we're learning every day. We get the chance to work with the players. We're learning every day. We put them on the pitch and we see how they deal with the situation. That was arguably a tough away game going down to Cardiff, and whilst we lost the game, you know, and the disappointment is in the loss and the nature of the loss, you know, overall we didn't go down there and we're overrun. We didn't go down there and get totally outplayed. You know, we lost a poor goal, and then we unfortunately lost our way a bit in terms of how we dealt with, you know, the level of possession that we had. And so you know, whilst there wasn't a huge amount of positives, I don't think it's possibly as negative as maybe you portrayed it there.
Good luck.
Thank you. Cheers.